All right, let's talk about the overall market then. The 𝐒𝐦𝐚𝐲 letter, which I respect their content all the time, except for usually their conclusions are not very good. but 𝐒𝐦𝐚𝐲 says, breaking, the fear and greed index falls to 9. And also, of course, the VIX is at 25 or something, up dramatically the last 2 days. He says this is the lowest level since April 11th. Extreme fear and sentiment last seen at the April 2025 bottom, yet the S&P is down just about 4% from its record high and up 37% since the April low. This is simply not what you see before a market crash. And you say?
I say it should be unmuted. It's I'm of two different worlds. All right, so okay. On one hand, I look at things. I don't see anything that's necessarily going to stop this sell-off, other than people just stop selling. But we've had down day after down day. So the only thing I think right now that can save this market is tomorrow night, Jensen. And there's a good chance of that. Like, just to be frank, like, I have some leaps on Nvidia. I'm completely playing earnings. I'm not even protecting them. Well, I say that. We'll see what happens tomorrow. I might protect them a little bit. Let's see how the market goes tomorrow. But, Jensen knows the moment. He understands that this whole sell-off is not just a sell-off, but it's about a sell-off on the entire thesis of Nvidia's whole business, the whole ecosystem. Burry has a short on them. He's aware of this. I mean, he's aware of everything. So I think they crush earnings tomorrow. I think they guide well, but it's all going to come down to what Jensen says. And can Jensen ease the fears of the market? Can he do enough to, give us that story of the Santa Claus rally into hopefully a Fed cut, which will further boost the rally? Like, that's the bullish side. My skepticism, though, is that this sell-off continues. We've got record margin out there. What does that really mean? I don't know. It's all, what's it measured off of, right? Like, we're also at all-time highs. Like, of course, you're going to have record margin amounts. But my conspiracy hat says that this is all manufactured. My conspiracy hat says that this is all Wall Street and hedge funds trying to spread gloom and doom so they can get in here and they can catch the last month and a half rally and kind of cook their own books, if you will. The reason I say that is because here's my question. What AI bubble? What AI bubble? Like, other than two companies, OpenAI and Anthropic, you've got Meta, who has a profitable business, which is how they're funding their AI initiatives. You have Amazon has a profitable business that's funding its AI initiative. You have Microsoft, Google, Tesla, even xAI. They all have other businesses that are profitable that are funding their AI initiatives. So they don't necessarily have to go to debt markets. They don't necessarily have to capital raise. Maybe xAI does. But so you can't tell me those companies, Nvidia too, right? You can't tell me that any of those companies are necessarily in a bubble. Are they valued really high? Sure. But of course they're going to be, because where else are you going to put money right now? You're going to put the money in the companies that are the only ones generating massive amounts of profits right now. And on top of that, they're the only ones really investing heavily into the next leg of the next revolution of massive profits. So, like, it only stands to reason there's only one place to put your money. And the narrative that everyone keeps running with is, oh, well, if you took out AI and data centers, we'd have like negative GDP or whatever. That's where it's like, okay, cool. You can say that for any time period about anything. The truth is, you can't take that out. It's just like with Tesla with the ZEV credits. Sure, you can back those out, but the money's still there, still in the balance sheet. We still have the cash. So I don't buy this bubble narrative. I don't buy Burry's depreciation cycle of the data centers, because it doesn't make sense. I don't think he understands it. We're in a new world where you have compute that can be used for training. After 2 to 3 years, it can default down into inference compute. After another 2 to 3 years, that can drop down to replace aging CPUs for workloads. And on top of that, you've got all these new workloads that we have in general that we didn't have a few years ago. And every company, no matter what, is always trying to extract as much useful life out of all their equipment. Google even said, before all this drama came up, even Google said, and Freebird confirmed it recently on the All In podcast, there is no TPU not being used.
Right.
All right.
Right.
Amazon has even said that every Trainium chip they have is being used. So if every Trainium, every tensor processing unit that Google makes is being used, you better believe all their Nvidia chips are being used. So, I mean, we're at a place where there's so much usage and so much backlog that energy's what's holding this up. It's not the lack of use of GPUs. So again, I say to you, I hear you. I see what the market's doing. There's lots of reasons to think that this can keep going down because at the end of the day, it's buyers and sellers. And if people are freaked out, then they can manifest their own doom. It's just that simple. It really becomes that simple. If everyone thinks that we're just going to keep crashing, we can.
Let's
But
yeah,
go ahead.
Let's take
I'll get
a
off my
quick,
soapbox.
yeah, well, no, but let's take a quick second because not everybody watched the All In podcast the other day. Not everybody's been listening to this kerfluffle about Burry's
What are they
claiming.
doing?
I don't know what they're doing, but they probably have other things to do. So what we've got here is a depreciation schedule. It's a very technical bookkeeping issue, but it is, it's an IRS issue. It's a bookkeeping issue. It's a SCE issue as to how fast you depreciate something for real, not the, aggressive things that the big beautiful bill does in terms of tax write-offs, but rather the for real write-off. And I guess Burry's argument would be that it should be 3 years for these GPUs, and Google and everybody else is now saying 6. Do I have that right?
Yeah, sort of. So the way it works is he's not wrong either, to be clear. He's right if you just talk about training. The useful life is about, it may even be like 1.5 to 2 years for training, right? Before you get a new iteration of GPUs. But even then, the only companies that are going to get those new GPUs will be Tesla, xAI, OpenAI, right? So like everyone else in the market is going to have to wait. And even then, those companies, like there's only so much that can be made at a time, right? There's lag times with all these things when there's so much demand. And so, yeah, you're right. The training part of it is good for 2 to 3 years, and then they're essentially outdated. So in other words, you depreciate the cost of it over that 2 to 3 years. And that's assuming that they have no more usefulness after that. But what we know is that inference, for example, requires a lot less I don't know what a good analogy is. I like to use analogies to help people understand, but it takes a lot less horsepower compared to training. Training, you're putting everyone at it. Like finesse doesn't matter. You're just trying to brute force strength. You're throwing everything at the wall. But when it comes to inference, you can scale back, right? You don't have to go that hard. Inference, and then after inference, you can again step down, use it for just general workloads.
Right.
And Jensen said that eventually every CPU will be a GPU.
Right.
And so this is what's creating the longevity of this usefulness. And remember, before GPUs wouldn't be used for regular workloads because, well, GPUs were really expensive. But as you have them and they become dated, well, now it makes sense to use them because even those dated GPUs are more powerful than normal CPUs. It just makes sense. And so the longevity starts to grow. And so, yes, so it's not 2 to 3 years that you take that whole cost of those, say it's $1 million to buy those GPUs, and you split up over 2 years. You're saying that you essentially took a loss, or your cost of goods,
Sure.
500,000 one year, 500,000 next year. But if you go over 5 years, well, now it's going to be 200,000, 200,000, 200,000, et cetera. If you go to 6 years, et cetera. But what that means is that, or what Burry's saying is that they're cooking the books. They're essentially manufacturing profits that aren't really there. But here's the thing. With normal GAAP accounting practices, right, general accepted accounting practices, there are audit windows because it's always guesstimation, right? You're guessing like the usefulness. And so you go out there and you probably are going to be a little more conservative with what you think your depreciation cycle should be. But should you all of a sudden say, hey, I'm actually getting 3 or 4 years of life out of these out of these GPUs, out of these servers. Well, there's part of the gap accounting practice that allows you to go in there, audit it, and essentially change your depreciation cycle. And that's what they're doing. They're all learning as they go, and they're finding new ways to really squeeze every last drop out of these servers, out of these GPUs. And so what they're doing is on the up and up. There's literally processors for this. So they're not just manufacturing this out of thin air. So it'll be interesting to see what Burry comes out with on November 25th, because he says that something's going to drop on 25th. But here's the thing. Even if they were, let's say even if they were, I don't think it would matter. It would make headlines. Sure, the stock market might sell off for a little bit, but it wouldn't matter. And it wouldn't matter because what we're getting to, right? It's this next level, this next big revolution that's happening. Make no mistake, this isn't the metaverse. This isn't something that's just going to go by the wayside. This isn't Apple with their, VR headset. It's not that. Every single company, everyone wonders where's the ROI. Every single company in the world, I don't care if it's your little cleaning service company that operates locally or if it's a global 100 company. Every company is finding ways to disrupt themselves internally with LLMs, generative AI, agents. And this is happening internally. Like, you can't see it outside. It's not the sexy, like, here's the one product, right? It's not like, here's FSD, everyone buy FSD, or here's a Tesla, buy the Tesla. No, it's everybody's soaking up all these tokens, using this innovation internally, and the ROI will come.
The future is here. The singularity is coming. Grab your copy today, available now on Amazon in Kindle, print, or Audible. Unlock the future, one page at a time. What will you build tomorrow?